Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to be here at the Halal Assembly 2019 of Thailand, and in particular to have the honor of delivering the Dr. Surin Pitsuwan Memorial Lecture. For me, this is an honor because I have served the country alongside Dr. Surin for a long time. And I think it would be appropriate for me to begin this lecture by at least paying a tribute to the great man himself. Many of you, especially among diplomatic circles, will remember Dr. Surin as a brilliant diplomat and a brilliant politician. For me, he was a politician that also inspired many people in my generation, myself included, to join politics. From humble beginnings, through hard work, Dr. Surin became a brilliant academician and then transformed himself from an academic to a politician in a democratic political system. True to his principles, very eloquent, he managed to advance many of the causes that he had been fighting for his life, all his life, without ever forgetting his roots. And for my generation, we feel that he set an example for many aspiring young people who want to make a change to their country through the democratic process. I should also add that it was actually Dr. Surin who first drew my attention to the concept of halal. I remember well that it wasn't a seminar or it wasn't a lecture or talk on food, on industry, on trade. No, Dr. Surin introduced me to the concept of halal at a political rally, where he actually drew the attention of the people who gathered at that rally to the idea of the principles of what is permissible, what is good, what is clean, and how that should be applied to politics and democracy itself. Thai politics at the time, and you could argue that even still today, is still plagued by so many behavior and phenomena that are not conducive towards a clean and a principled system. And Dr. Surin warned the people then that it was important to keep politics clean and principled and introduce the concept of halal. That has always stuck with me in my mind, even until today. And if only the way we practice politics would also adhere to the principle of halal, I'm sure that we would have made much more advanced development in both democracy and also economic development. But I'm not here today to talk about politics. I'm here to talk about the halal industry and trade and its benefits to all countries, Muslim and non-Muslim countries alike. And I should just first draw attention to the fact that we should be congratulating and admiring the organizers of this very assembly today for the progress, the tremendous progress they have made over the last few decades, where there has been a healthy growth in terms of advancing halal science in Thailand and also the growth of the halal industry itself. Through successive Thai governments, despite the political instability, there had been continued support for this program to make sure that the halal industry will continue to prosper in Thailand. So let me first put things in context. The halal economy at the global level is valued at $4 trillion. That is a huge market. The $4 trillion can be split into half and half. The first half being the trade in goods and services, and the other half the financial services. For the goods and services, half of that would be food and agriculture. So we're talking about a potential market, or an existing market, I should say, of $4 trillion already. As far as the trade in food and agricultural products that are halal, that constitutes 20% of the total value of trade in food and agriculture in the world. Indeed, for a country like Thailand, just in a period of around 20 years, the growth of the halal economy, as far as Thailand is concerned here, has been over 20-fold. And Thailand, despite being a non-Muslim country, is now the 8th biggest exporter of halal food. That is where the situation is today. And of course, when we talk about the benefits, we look at the potential. And we may well, of course, begin with the potential of markets in Muslim countries, because that's the first thing that comes to mind. Again, putting things in perspective, putting things in context, the Muslim population makes up about almost a quarter of the global population. So there is clearly a huge market for halal food and services, or the halal economy. And it might be helpful just to get a picture of the kind of markets that we are talking about when we talk about the Muslim population. In particular, for countries in this region, we might classify this Muslim market into 5 different groups. Beginning, of course, in ASEAN, where I noticed that there are also representatives from our neighboring countries. In ASEAN, we have around 300 million Muslims. Slightly beyond ASEAN, there's a GMS, which adds an additional 60 million people. Looking a little bit to the west, there is the BIMSTEC countries, again with 300 million more Muslims. Going further west, there is the Economic Cooperation or Economic Council Organization, made up mainly of Central Asian and some Eastern European economies, where again there are about 400 Muslims who reside there. And of course, the League of Arab States, with an additional 400 million people with very high income, and also includes the Gulf Cooperation Council. This is the size of the Muslim market for the halal industry. It is huge by itself, but it also has great potential and great relevance today. That is because in the areas that I have mentioned, these 5 groups are all fast-growing economies. And we are here today pretty much anxious about the international trading system, which has faced perhaps the biggest threat in a number of decades from the possibility of the trade war between the United States and China. We also see some regions, notably the European Union, which is facing its own problems concerning Brexit and other problems, which are now threatening so many economies that rely on their exports, all the open and globalized economies. Surely the market in Muslim countries for the halal industry is providing a channel by which these countries, Muslim and non-Muslim, can sustain their economic growth through the growth of the halal industry. Because as I've said before, these markets continue to grow at a healthy rate, and also at the moment there is no tendency for these economies to resort to protectionist measures, and therefore we will be seeking further cooperation to expand trade and investment among each other. So that in itself offers a great potential for further economic growth in all countries concerned. But if we talk about the true potential of the contributions of halal industry and trade to economic and social development, we should not forget that there is an equal amount of market available, if not greater, in the non-Muslim countries as well. Actually, if you talk about, say, the food and agricultural industry, taking away alcohol beverages, taking away pork, you're only taking away about 11% of the total value, which means, of course, that the potential for the halal industry can cover 89% of all trade in food and agricultural products. That is something that we should not forget. And indeed, if you look at the case of Thailand, where we have been growing, as I've mentioned before, as one of the leading exporters now of halal products, you will find that the markets for these products are just as big in non-Muslim countries compared to Muslim countries. That is the first point that I would like to make to show you the potential for the expansion of halal industry and its contributions to economic and social development. Secondly, we should also be looking beyond halal food, because the demand for halal products, non-food products, are also growing. We look at products from cosmetics to clothes to other consumer products, even to high technology products, software. These can all come under a halal brand and will also be an important growing market for all countries. So if a halal exporting country like Thailand and other non-Muslim countries will expand this idea of providing the halal brand beyond food, which is usually what people think first when we talk about halal, then clearly the potential for expansion is all the more greater. And if you look at the issue of services, which I've mentioned before, particularly financial services, making up maybe even half the value of the total halal, global halal economy, there is considerable room for expansion. In countries like Thailand, of course, we have been developing Islamic banking for some time now, but there is still huge untapped potential as far as other financial services are concerned. The sukuk, the bond market, is something that can still be developed. And I'm sure that with new financial instruments that come with technological advance, again, we will be discovering that there will be great potential to expand the halal economy to cover these financial services. Tourism is another area where this could be linked up to the concept of halal. Already, Muslim tourists in countries like Thailand is a significant number of the total number of tourists here. We estimate maybe over 3, maybe up to 5 million visitors each year. And there are already some areas where it is clear that Thailand can offer tourists in the form of medical tourism in particular and other related tourisms for people from Muslim countries. There is a huge demand that can come with such form of tourism. I remember well that when I was Prime Minister, one of the measures we took and we decided upon was to extend the visa, not just for the person coming for medical treatment here, but also for their families. And that created a huge increase in the amount of money that Muslim tourists spend here, not just for the medical treatment, but also into other goods and services. But the development of halal or maybe Muslim-friendly services is still something that has not been done very much. I believe that there may be a few hotels now that will say that they will offer the halal tourism service or Muslim-friendly service. But there is clear potential that this could be expanded to cover more tourism-related industries and many more players in this field, not just in Bangkok, but also in other parts of Thailand, and indeed, of course, for other non-Muslim countries in the region as well, can surely benefit from using the halal brand to cover tourist-related industries. So the potential for the market is huge. But there are also other trends that we are witnessing, which I think that if we can link up to the halal brand, will also allow and create the growth of the halal economy and halal industry further. One clear trend that we see today is the health consciousness of consumers. Consumers now want to see safety in food and other products, and the halal brand itself can often act as something that we can reassure consumers that halal products are also clean and safe products. Given, as I said, a trend that there will be more and more emphasis and priority placed on health and safety, surely, again, this offers a route for a further expansion of the halal industry and trade. And finally, the concern about climate change and the demand for environmentally friendly products. Again, the process by which halal products come about can often be linked up to good practices as far as environmental protection is concerned. So that again offers an additional route and potential for the expansion of the halal industry and trade. So with such huge potential, Muslim and non-Muslim countries alike can surely take advantage of these trends and expand its ability to produce and export halal products. But in order to do so, the important issue will be one of trust and confidence. Balanced also by the need to have a swift service in terms of speed and technology to provide the reassurance that something is halal. And here, I think the experience of Thailand over the last couple of decades, since we began with the idea of having a halal mark and then setting up an institute that would be responsible to provide the halal standard right up to the latest Thai diamond halal brand is a good illustration of how we can build up trust and confidence. And of course, over the next 3 days, you'll be hearing a lot of technological innovations that will also help make sure that the process of accrediting halal products can become much more efficient and less costly. I'm pleased to see that we're talking about the use of algorithm. I'm pleased to hear that there will be talks about the use of halal blockchain. There will also be discussions also in growing areas such as halal social enterprises and beyond. All this will surely be important in making sure that the halal industry and halal economy will continue to grow at a very healthy rate. I'm sure actually outpacing the average rate of growth of the economy. So what would be the benefits? Well, economically it's clear. In an age where there are some structural adjustments that need to be made by a lot of economies and countries, Thailand, we are facing the issue of technological disruption like other countries. We are facing the issue of becoming an aging society. We are faced with the problems of structural inequality. The halal industry, covering from the areas of food, agriculture, to services that I've mentioned, will do much to sustain the growth of jobs and income. That will be very important to sustain economic growth and well-being of the population. It should also be pointed out that the growth of the halal industry itself will require the participation of Muslims and non-Muslims alike, as entrepreneurs, as workers, as partners, and so on. So the creation of jobs and income through the growth of the halal industry will also mean that there will be a fair distribution of income and opportunities alike. And indeed, if we pick up on the trends of linking this to the services and tourism industry, there is good reason to believe that the kind of growth created by the halal industry will actually be growth that is friendly, not just to the issue of distribution of income, but also to the standards of health and safety and also the environment. And once all this is achieved, we have a good recipe for social harmony. The idea that the principle of halal can be a support for a great number of economic activities that bring so much benefit to people, Muslim and non-Muslim alike, will also make its contributions to a better understanding between faiths and also to make sure that there is peace and harmony in our societies. So all in all, we can see this great potential, and if we keep working hard, like many of you here have done so over the last decades, you will be providing great service to the growth of the Thai and other economies. You'll be contributing to social development, and you'll be contributing to social harmony and peace and security all around. I wish all of you the best in your endeavors to continue to support these very important activities, and I am confident that the future growth of the halal industry will do much to contribute to bring people out of poverty and also to guarantee good standard of living for everybody concerned. Thank you very much.